Okay, the word of the day is hook. Everybody come click this link. And remember, file, make a copy. File, make a copy. Okay, so hooks are one of the most important vocab words in creative writing. They also, though, affect lots of things that aren't just creative writing. So this should be the only thing on your screen. If you're not on hook vocab, you're in the wrong place. So everybody get to hook vocab. Look at my screen, see that it matches your screen. Okay, hook vocab. So a hook is the first line or lines of a reader to grab the reader's attention. That every beginning of a story should start with something that's so shocking or so interesting or so weird or so funny or so mysterious that you can't help but keep reading, okay? So that is how every story ever should begin.
I ate some spicy chips. Can I go get a drink of water?
If you go in the middle of me teaching, you're missing the whole lesson, and then you will be lost on the practice. So if you have to, you can go, but go very, 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 very quickly because you're missing a bunch of helpful stuff that would help you on your assignment today. Okay, so let's go ahead. Screen's facing forward, everybody. 3, 2, yeah. Okay, I'll help you in a minute. So just whatever you're trying to finish it in a minute. I'll help you in a second. I'm going to tell you a couple of different tricks when it comes to hooks, because you might already know about hooks, but you don't know about my tricks, and I've got good ones. So the first trick is to remember that you're in creative writing, and we're almost like mad scientists, that we're experimenting, and you really can't do it wrong. There's lots of different types of hooks, and one of the things that we're going to be practicing today is you experimenting with getting used to other kinds of hooks that you might not be used to. So the first thing I'm going to tell you, well, next thing, is this story. So this says a really fantastic hook forces a reader to keep reading. So this is a real life story. Once upon a time, when I was in college, way long ago, that was right when the first Hunger Games book had come out, and I was reading that book, and I was so hooked that I could not stop reading. I mean, I probably could have if I really forced myself, but it felt like I couldn't stop. I was supposed to be writing this gnarly essay. I did not want to do it. It was 12 pages. It was horrible. It was so much research. It was boring. And all I wanted to do was read Hunger Games because I was hooked. And so I was procrastinating, and I was really putting off my essay, and then it got down to the wire. It was due at midnight. I was not writing, and so I told my husband, listen, I need you to come check on me to make sure I'm actually doing my essay. And then I was still too hooked on that book. My husband would come walking down the hallway. I was like reading under the desk, and I'd hear him, and I'm like, yep, I'm typing, yep, nothing's going on here. And it was my own fault, but it was also that creative writer's fault. It was such a good book that I couldn't stop. I did get the essay turned in, like 11:59. But there's so many tricks when it comes to writing really awesome hooks. Like, you could start with a cool creative description. That seems like a really easy one, but being really, really like unique in your descriptions is definitely a skill that you could practice. Like, for example, here's a good one. The severed head was found in the elevator shaft. That is a creative, weird, scary description, right? That might hook my reader. They might want to keep reading. Starting in the middle of the action is one of my personal favorites because too many kids your age think that you literally have to start at the beginning. No. You don't have to start with, okay, I woke up and then my head popped off the pillow and then I ate breakfast. Boring! Don't do that. Totally just start in the middle. Like, what if your story starts with a dude like getting punched in the middle of the face? Boom! Middle of the action. I can always go back later and describe stuff later, but I could start in the middle. Creating a mystery is a great trick that I am going to kind of almost give clues. I'm not going to give everything away. I'm going to get them, it's almost like I'm keeping them on the line, right? So that they want to keep reading. A bold or shocking statement. If you remember the Twilight, like, vampire books, that hook was one of these, a bold or shocking statement. It started with, I'd never given much thought to how I would die. That is a very bold statement to make, okay? Or starting with a character talking can also really grab your reader's attention. And guys, you don't even have to introduce the character. You could literally, your first line of your story could be the character saying something crazy, like maybe like, no, Bob, please, I'll never do it again, please, no! And all of a sudden, I've got drama, I've got a mystery, and I'm starting to build my character right in the first line of my story. Starting with a sound, what if I just start with kaboom? Then maybe my reader might want to keep reading to know what just exploded. And exactly, starting with an interesting question. And here's the deal. You don't just have to do one of these. You could totally do a mixture of different types of hooks together and create an ultimate extra hooky hook, okay? I know that's not a word, but sure, let's pretend. Okay, now the non-example is really important today. Lots of creative writers your age will start a story just like this. Hi, I'm blank, and I'm blank years old. Hi, I'm Alan, and I'm 14 years old. Nope, that's boring. That is not good enough for a first line. And I know that sounds really mean, but you guys are going to be better than this, than kids who haven't had my class. So everybody raise your right hand. Repeat after me. I promise, to never, ever, write this non-example as my hook. Because now I know better. There you go. You have been so inducted into the secret society of people who know better. Okay, this is an okay, second paragraph, but for your first paragraph, no. Okay, and then the last thing before we move on to the next step of today, ignore your neighbors, focus on me. Last step is, this trick is one that most kids don't learn before they have a class. So, it's not enough to have a hook at just the beginning of your story. A really, really smart and strategic creative writer is going to hook the reader over and over and over and over all the way throughout the story. So, trick question. How many of you have ever started a story that you stopped reading because it was boring? I have. I've tried not to. Yeah, and almost every single person's hand raised up. And that's because that creative writer forgot that you have to hook a reader over and over and over and over. So for real, you should be constantly thinking, what else can I throw at the reader that's going to keep them interested, that's going to keep them shocked or surprised or entertained, or they think it's weird, or whatever it is that's keeping them hooked so that they don't stop reading my story. Because there's nothing that forces them to keep reading unless they're sitting in an ELA class and the teacher is forcing everybody to read that story, right? Otherwise, it's your creativity and your power in writing. So before we move on, let me show you some really good examples really quick that will help you with your example. We will, yeah. But this is one of many tricks when it comes to writing stories. Okay, so these are real hooks from real published authors. And this is how they started their story. So I want you to be thinking, does this actually hook me? And the answer on some of them is going to be no. So you're going to give me a thumbs up or thumbs down. Does it hook me? A screaming comes across the sky. Thumbs up or thumbs down? We're pretty split on that one. Some people said yes. Some people said no. And that's important that you realize that just because you wrote a hook doesn't mean that it actually worked. So for me, I want to know why the sky is screaming. But for other people, they're like, yeah, no. My husband loves fire, so this one is a good one for him. But it was a pleasure to burn. Where's my pyros out there? Thumbs up if you like that one. Thumbs down if not so much. And again, we're pretty split. All hooks don't work for everybody. So as a creative writer, you have to really practice that. Okay, this one's creepy. The flash projected the outline of the hanged man onto the wall. Thumbs up or thumbs down? Lots more thumbs ups on that one. Usually people do like mysteries. They like some action and some drama. I'm a self-proclaimed wimp, so that one freaks me out, but I would keep reading. Okay, Matilda, most of us know, and that one starts with, it's a funny thing about mothers and fathers. Even when their own child is the most disgusting little blister you could ever imagine, they still think that he or she is wonderful. Luca, this is for you. And where's Luca? In front of my face. So you're getting checked out, and then everything will be on canvas. They still think that he or she is wonderful, yes or no? And the funny thing about this one, we get mostly thumbs downs on this one. And most of us have watched or seen Matilda, and it still didn't hook us enough right at the beginning. This one is weird. I write this sitting in the kitchen sink. Lots of thumbs down on that one. Me, I want to know why that person is small enough to fit in the kitchen sink. But okay, another creepy one. Behind every man now alive stands 30 ghosts. For that is the ratio by which the dead outnumber the living. Yes or no?
Yes.
Pretty split on that one, actually. Pretty split. Lots of yeses, but also lots of nos. And then Peter Pan. All children, except one, grow up. Yes or no? Okay, and we're mostly no's. And again, even on such a popular story, still we're saying that wasn't a good enough hook. So even published authors could have done a little bit better. Okay, now's the chance where you're going to go ahead and give me your own example. You could just make it up today. You could also think of your favorite story, but in the You Try box, remember you did file, make a copy, and you're giving me your own example. So I'll give you time to come up with that before we move on to the next step.